Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing an overview of the Hi Rasmus Aloha integration. For those of you who don't know much about the integration, what this allows you to do is schedule appointments in Aloha and link those scheduled appointments to your session in Hi Rasmus so that you can send over all of your session information, such as your start and end times on your session and your session note to complete all of your billing information for your Aloha appointment. So let's start on the Hi Rasmus side of things. We're going to go over just a couple of things that you'll want to make sure that you have set up to make sure that everything is working well with your integration. So first thing is you'll need to actually set up your integration. You'll do this by going to Organization, Integrations, and you'll be given a couple of steps to walk through to actually set up your integration. Your Aloha team will give you all of the information that you need to set that up. Now, one thing that we have set up here is called session and activity type mapping. We'll talk about that in just a second. Once your integration is set up, you'll want to make sure that your clients are connected. You have a couple of ways that you can do this. You can import your clients directly from Aloha through this option right here. Or if you have clients that you've already added into the system, you can connect them manually. And you'll be able to see if you toggle on this column for Aloha ABA connection on the client overview page, you'll be able to see whether or not they are connected to an Aloha account. If you want to change that connection or if you want to add a connection at any point, you would just select this right here when you go to edit the client. So you can change that connection, or if they're not connected in the first place, it's the same process for adding that connection. Next thing is your users. You're going to want to make sure that your RBTs, your BCBAs are also connected to their Aloha profiles. So we're going to go to Organization, we're going to go to Users. Same thing, we've toggled on this Aloha ABA connection to see if they are connected or not. It's going to give us a nice overview. If we need to connect somebody, we'll click into their profile and select Link to ABA Profile and select their name from the list. If their name isn't showing up on the list, we'll go through how to help troubleshoot that in just a minute. Once everybody's connected, the next step would be adding appointments into Aloha. So we're going to go into Aloha and do that really quickly. You can see I already do have some appointments added. You'll see I have an assessment session scheduled. I'm going to add one for direct service. Your Aloha customer success rep will be able to walk you through all the prerequisites needed within Aloha to make sure that your appointments are pulling over correctly. So we're going to go in and we're going to schedule this appointment, and I'm going to click Save. And now that appointment is going to show up in Hi Rasmus. A couple of things to just keep in mind, a couple of troubleshooting tips. Number one, if you go to the settings gear right here and select clinical integrations and go to Hi Rasmus, you're able to see all of your staff profiles in Aloha and see whether or not they're matched or available to be matched on Hi Rasmus. So if it says matched, that means that they're connected to a Hi Rasmus profile. If it says sent, it means they're available to be connected. At any time, you can select these and resend them by selecting the Send button if you want. Same thing with clients and same thing with appointments. If appointments aren't showing up, select it and click Send, and those should show up in Hi Rasmus. So let's talk about what it's going to look like to see Aloha appointments in Hi Rasmus. So a couple of things. If I click my name in the top left corner here, then you'll be able to see all of your upcoming appointments. But if we want to see appointments that have happened in the past or that are, coming up farther in the future, you're going to want to navigate to the My Schedule page. Now, just keep in mind that this has to be turned on for the particular user role. You're going to do that for a user role by going to Organization, User Privileges. Only managers have access to do this. So you would select the specific role and make sure that this user page called My Schedule is turned on. On the My Schedule page, we can view things daily, weekly, or monthly. We can see here if we have a monthly view, we can look at past sessions, show what has already been rendered over to Aloha, we can see things that have been completed on the Aloha ABA side, meaning somebody completed it in Aloha instead of sending it over from Hi Rasmus. We can see sessions that have been completed, but maybe not sent over to Aloha yet. So we have a really nice overview of all of the appointments for a certain time period using this My Schedule page. We have a similar view for a client as well. So if I select a client, for example, Sally Brown, and I have this appointments page turned on for her, again, under user privileges, we can turn this on for a particular user role. I can see here on the appointments page, the same thing, a weekly, daily, or monthly view of all of this client's Aloha appointments. So I'd be able to see the various people that she is scheduled with, the name of that appointment in Aloha, the times and the dates, all of that good stuff. You can even start a session from this particular page if it's for the current day. So if today is July 9th, I'd be able to start my sessions for July 9th. If it's an appointment that is scheduled for me, otherwise you'd just be able to go to the client's page or view a past session that may have happened. Now, a couple other things in relation to appointments coming over from Aloha to Hi Rasmus. One thing that you'll note here is that we have some session mapping set up. So you can see that those direct service appointments that we have scheduled in Aloha are only showing up on my direct service session. My assessment appointment is only showing up here on my assessment session. Same thing with supervision, and if we had a parent training appointment scheduled, it would only be showing up on the parent training session. You have to build sessions out in order to run programs in Hi Rasmus and link programs and sessions to an actual appointment. Session mapping makes it so that services for assessments only map to an assessment session. Services that are scheduled in Aloha for a direct service only map over to a direct service session. The way that you do this is first by setting up what we call session prototypes. So a session prototype is essentially a template where you can have a strict naming convention for that session type. Right here, we have it set so that it's strict session naming so that you cannot create a session that isn't one of these 4 types. So if I click into a session prototype, I've called this one direct service, and I have specific settings set up for this prototype. One of them being the note template, so that I know that all of the Aloha direct service appointments are gonna be completed with this direct service 97153 session note. I can also set visibility settings, make it automatically accept video calls, shuffle the order of programs, and a few other things here as well. The next thing that I would do is go to the integrations tab under organization integrations, and we're going to come back to this session and activity type mapping. So here, this is where I'm taking those service names from Aloha and saying, okay, for an appointment that is direct service, it's only going to map over to the direct service session prototype, and it will generate that list of your prototypes for you to select from. So first thing you want to do is create your prototypes, and then you can have them map over so that all of those specific services map over to that particular session type that has that specific note assigned to it. And you can be creative here and kind of do your own thing, but this is an option to make sure that those appointments are pulling over to the correct types of sessions. And this will make it so people don't accidentally select the wrong type of session to run. So let's go ahead and run a session. I'm going to go back to Sally Brown's homepage, and we're going to run this direct service appointment. If I, for some reason, do start a session for somebody else, it's going to actually automatically unlink me from the session. You can see here that this isn't even linked at all. Same thing if I start a session that's actually accidentally for the wrong day. If I click start session, it's actually going to unlink me from that appointment. It's not going to be linked because it's for the wrong day. Now, if I click start session on this correct appointment day, you'll see here that I have a banner across the top saying that it's linked to this scheduled appointment. If for some reason I do need to make a switch, I can change that appointment at any time. And let's say, okay, this actually was my 11 o'clock appointment that I'm running right now. I can make that switch at this point. So right now I'm on my program landing page. I can review all of my programs before starting a session, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the session. I can go ahead and start taking data. We do have more in-depth videos on how to actually run a session and all the options that you have for taking data and all of that good stuff. But the basics that you need to know is you can navigate here using the next program and back buttons to navigate between your different programs and take data. You can also pull up your session note at any time, so you can begin working on that note that is attached to this prototype at any time during your session. Now, when it's time for me to finish my session, I'm going to select finish session. In this instance, I'm going to finish the client session for the day, and then I'll be able to finish my note. Now, one important piece here is if you want your providers to be able to adjust their start and finish times, you need to include start and finish time fields on the session note. So this gives me the option to edit these. You can also make it so that they cannot edit these fields and it just shows it to them at the end of their session. So you have options there within the user privileges to limit that if you need to, but you do want to include the start and finish time on your session note in the session note template if that is a requirement for your payer. And this will also make it so that these times are what is reflected on the Aloha appointment. So I'm going to click continue here, review my note. And in this instance, I am required to sign it. That's an option for a session note. And it is left with a pending signature because a parent is required to sign. If a note has not collected all of its required signatures yet, it's not going to give you the option to send it over to Aloha. Now, in this instance, I'm going to cancel this request. Only certain users will be able to do that. Otherwise, they'll be forced to collect that signature before sending it over to Aloha. In this instance, I'm going to cancel the request because I don't actually need a parent signature. And now you'll see that my session is ready to be sent to Aloha. Again, I can click on this appointment right here if I do need to switch it over to a different session or a different appointment in Aloha. I'll be able to see all of my appointments that I have scheduled for myself on that day. You can't switch this to a different day. The activity times here, the date has to match the Aloha appointment. So again, those times within my session note will be what updates the appointment in Aloha. So when I click send now and we go over to that appointment in Aloha, you can now see that this session has been updated. So if we click into the appointment, we can see that it's got the signature. It has those updated times. The time zone is a little bit different. That's why it's showing as a different time. And then we have the actual session note that we can click directly into. Couple of quick things as well just to look out for in terms of settings on your Aloha side. In order for appointments to auto-complete and for those times from Hi Rasmus to be reflected in Aloha, you'll need to go to System Settings and toggle on these settings under Clinical Integrations. Those will make it so that those appointments from Hi Rasmus auto-update in Aloha as per the session note and that they get auto-completed when they're sent from Hi Rasmus to Aloha. So once everything's been sent over, you'll see in the client's history that it'll have this icon that says transferred to Aloha ABA, and that's how you know it'll be sent over. You'll also be able to see that it's linked to an Aloha ABA appointment ID. So that is the general overview of the Hi Rasmus Aloha integration. I hope you enjoyed.